And I've had results in life that are prodigious. And that came from tricks. I just learned a few basic tricks from people like my grandfather. There are all kinds of tricks that I just got into by accident in life. One, I invert all the time. It's like a lot of practical problems in algebra. If you invert, you can solve it easily. If you don't, you can't solve it easily.
Exactly right.
And so, of course, I had that trick very early. And approaching it in reverse that way, I got better results. And I got the right bag of tricks early. And of course, it's been of enormous help to me. You've got to do this in 3 dimensions. You know, God gave us 3 dimensions.
And it's only after you've reached that upside downness, then things are finished. And then the world has to reboot. You avert a total apocalypse. You restart with the origin. You create a new hierarchy based on the basic elements of what created that thing in the first place. One thing you can do is you dive back into the origin. You go down into the water and you find that golden ball, that first spark. You pull it out of the water and you start the cycle again.
That characterize financial markets, negative and positive. Negative feedback, he argues, is self-correcting, while positive feedback is self-reinforcing. Negative feedback sets up a tendency towards equilibrium, while positive feedback produces dynamic disequilibrium.
I was 14 years old, and I would say that that's when my character was made. That one should think ahead, one should understand and anticipate events, and one is threatened. It was a tremendous threat of evil. I mean, it was a very personal experience of evil.
These are all attempts at creating a new kind of school or a new kind of monastery. And Bjornstrand talks about the concept of reserves, islands of safety, where history can be remembered and the human being can continue to function in order to maintain the species through a dark age. purpose of this underground is to find out how to preserve the light, life, the culture, how to keep things living. And I think that in order to create that language, you're going to have to learn how you can go through a looking glass into another kind of perception where you have that sense of being united to all things, and suddenly you understand everything.
Theater chain AMC is close to bankruptcy, according to a Fox Business News report. AMC closed its doors nationwide in mid-March as the coronavirus swept the country. At the time, the chain said it would close for 6 to 12 weeks. Well, now at least one Wall Street analyst says bankruptcy is a distinct possibility.
They do not care what price they buy things at. They care that the stock goes higher. It's a new phenomenon. They regard it as being a hatred of Wall Street.
AMC Theaters announcing new Labor Day weekend admissions revenue record, saying that this past weekend marked the first time since the beginning of COVID that attendance in 2021 actually exceeded 2019.
When AMC actually does go to the moon, it's going to grow substantially and exponentially.
The president's plan would pull out about 2,500 troops from Iraq and Afghanistan, leaving around 5,000 total on the ground. The president's fired Defense Secretary Mark Esper opposed this move directly, called it too soon, dangerous, and opposed by the generals.
The Fox News decision desk can now project that former Vice President Joe Biden will win Pennsylvania and Nevada, putting him over the 270 electoral votes he needs to become the 46th president of the United States.
Just last month, he dismissed a quick Taliban takeover.
The likelihood there's going to be the Taliban overrunning everything and owning the whole country is highly unlikely.
While the president did not explain the U.S.'s responsibility for the current chaos, he put blame on Afghan soldiers for giving up.
Now, sales of fake
the cause and effect leading to the effect will always be the same, and thus it is impossible to change it.
And what the market's seen is that underlying engine of digital subscription growth with really quite spectacular year-over-year gains in digital revenue.
That's traded globally is currently pegged to the US dollar. It's denominated in the US dollar.
The U.S. goes and bombs Baghdad in 2003, sets up military bases, and look where they put them. Kind of like that plan they talked about at Camp David, right? Well, fast forward to today. The number of bases are down, but the important ones left still by those oil fields.
In central London, large-scale sit-ins continue, with more than 300 arrested so far.
To ready itself for the new green world, BP has plans to cut its oil output by 40% between now and 2030.
And when you talk about oil in the cold winter, there was a note that I believe your team put out that you do see the potential for $100 per barrel oil in the United States and elsewhere based on what supplies are doing.
When you get into these low inventories, price spike, and then they come back down because what happened?
As a central bank, we have the ability to create money digitally, and we do that by buying treasury bills or bonds or other government guaranteed securities. That actually increases the money supply. We also print actual currency, and we distribute that through the Federal Reserve banks.
Time is the progression of existence in which we move towards the future from the present, and in doing so create the past.
Inversion is a process whereby an object has its entropy reversed, essentially flipping its chronology, so that from that point on, it goes backwards in time rather than forwards.
So instead of viewing time moving from the present into the future, it inverts this perspective and allows objects and the characters to move through the flow of time from the present into the past.